Good morning, anatomy students. Chapter 15, lecture 3, continuing the food trace. So last lecture we talked a little bit about what happened in the stomach. Obviously a lot of things happen in the stomach. Digestion, physical and chemical forms. And at the point where the food has been in the stomach for quite some time, whether it's a carbohydrate-rich meal or a lipid-rich meal, at the point where it's as much can be done in the stomach as can be done. What you have consistency-wise, not that you want to think about what's in your stomach after it's been digested, looks kind of like a chunky milkshake. It's a liquid form, it's yellowish white color, and at this point it is ready to pass in the small intestine. Now there's a valve, a control valve, at the base of the stomach as it enters the small intestine. It's called a sphincter. There's a sphincter at the top of the stomach as well. That was one of the questions that I asked you last set of questions that I posted. And what this does is it allows the stomach to control how much of the digested food is going to pass into the small intestine. Now, that's going to happen literally a teaspoon at a time. Just small amounts are going to happen. The small intestine is not equipped to handle an onrush of food. It has to happen slowly, progressively over a period of time. Digestion takes, and the subsequent absorption takes quite a bit of time to occur, if it's going to occur efficiently and properly. The small intestine is not named for its length. The small intestine, 15 feet long on average. It's coiled up in the middle part of your abdominal pelvic cavity. It's named for its diameter, about the size, a little bit bigger around maybe than your thumb, small. Tube, again, that coils up in the central aspect of your abdominal pelvic cavity. So what happens in the small intestine? A lot of things. The initial region, and there's 3 regions of the small intestine, the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. These are just different regions. They look a little bit different anatomically, but they have different functionalities, different physiologies, and that's what I'm going to discuss with you. So the first region is the duodenum. As the digested food from the stomach passes into the duodenum, digestion now needs to be completed. It has to be broken down even further to a point where it can be absorbed through the walls of the next region of the small intestine. So what happens is that enzymes are going to come in from the pancreas. You have some amylase coming in. You have an enzyme called trypsin, pancreatic lipase, and some amylase again. Amylase this time obviously coming from the pancreas, not from the saliva. And we're going to complete digestion of the macromolecules. We're going to break them down into their individual pieces so they can pass literally through the walls of the small intestine into the bloodstream so they can be distributed to the cells, just like when we talked about oxygen being distributed to the cells. So in the duodenum, we're going to complete digestion. At the same point where the enzymes and what's called pancreatic juice, that is literally the name for it, as specific as we get with some of the names that we use in anatomy, it's literally called pancreatic juice. It's going to mix with another fluid that comes from the liver, and it's stored in the gallbladder. That's called bile. Bile is a green fluid, and what bile does is it actually joins to fat molecules. It binds to them, and it makes it easier for them to be pulled through or absorbed through the wall of the small intestine. So it helps with digestion of fats. Not digestion as much, but absorption, I guess, is a better way to put it. It helps with absorption of fats. The joining of those 2 molecules together, the fat and the bile, again, assist them in moving through. So basically what's happening in the first region of the small intestine is we're completing digestion. We're going to start binding with bile that's coming from the liver, stored in the gallbladder, as I mentioned before. And then we're going to move on to the next region of the small intestine, which is called the jejunum. In the jejunum, you have absorption occurring. Absorption is the movement of digested molecules through the walls of the small intestine into the capillaries that are embedded within the structure of the small intestine. Obviously, this is going to allow you to pull those food molecules through, and it's going to move them around the body. It's going to, and we talked about that pathway back in chapter 12 a little bit, the hepatic portal pathway, when we actually pull some of these materials, take them through the liver so they can be processed, stored, detoxified if that needs to happen. So the big point that I need you to understand here is that absorption is going to occur in the second region, the small intestine primarily, and we're going to be pulling these materials out of the small intestine into the capillaries and then distribute them around the body using the bloodstream so the cells can get the nutrients that they need: glucose, amino acids, salts, anything that you've eaten that's been broken down and digested. The last region of the small intestine, the ileum, we have absorption occurring there as well, so we're still going to be moving materials through. At this point, though, we're going to actually start processing the indigestible materials, the indigestible foods that your body was not able to break down. There's also going to be absorption of water that's occurring here too. So again, if you look at the small intestine, as you go from the beginning of it until you get to the point where it connects to the large intestine, which we'll pick up on the next lecture, small intestine starts off by completing digestion, then it moves on to absorbing nutrients, and then in the last phase, we're still absorbing some limited nutrients, but we're starting to process those indigestible foods. So if you have any questions, I will have office hours this morning. I don't know if I'm going to have this video up before then or not, but we're going to continue to do that weekly, maybe twice a week if it's necessitated. And always feel free to email me questions. Have a good day.